Welcome to Inside Cottonwood. I'm Mayor Diane Joens, your host, and we have some pretty distinguished guests with us today, and we're going to learn about something that is really interesting. We have Dr. Paul Tighe from Mingus Union High School, Superintendent, and we also have with us Ms. Ni. We'll call her name is Ni Fen Fen, and she's from China, and she's here at Mingus Union High School teaching Chinese to the students. And so we want to learn a little bit about this program. I know that Dr. Tighe was quite interested in getting a program in Mingus High School, and he's told me in past conversations that that would be a great language for business and international trade for a student to learn. So you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So my interest has been strong in providing, the best opportunities for kids. And as we look at, the global economy, the way the world's changed into more of a global economy, I think, if our students learn a little bit of Chinese language and understand their culture, they'll have, a much better window of opportunities for lots of different industries and businesses as well as, career opportunities. So, as we look at the globalization, global economy, and our relations with China, they're a major economic driver. Their gross domestic product is now almost exceeding the U.S., and I think will in the next couple of years. So major trading partner, major business partner. A lot of our commercial real estate and our national debt is carried by Chinese investors. So, trying to looking ahead, seeing what was best for the next generation of our leaders in our country is providing those opportunities. So I had interest in providing Mandarin instruction, Mandarin Chinese instruction, and getting to know more myself personally. So a year ago, I participated in an administrative exchange through a different program. So I hosted a Chinese administrator for a week and part of a cohort that came to Arizona. And then in March, I went for 2 weeks with a cohort and stayed with my host for a week and at a host school. And so we're working to build a teacher exchange and a teacher-student exchange. And that's in the works. We may actually have 7 teachers from China coming from that school in probably in November. They're still waiting on visas and other arrangements. But concurrent with all that, I've learned of the program called Teachers of Critical Languages program. And so we applied, and it was actually a pretty rigorous application. And then from that, we were selected for the next round, which was some interviews. And then we were selected. So we're one of 23 schools in the whole U.S. who were selected to host a Chinese teacher. And so they pay the salary and expenses, and we provide housing. So Ms. Ni is staying with one of our teachers, Mrs. Strobel, right now. And that was part of our agreement, was to provide housing and support. But now we have a Chinese teacher, and it's just a great opportunity for kids. So I was really excited to be able to have that happen.
So let's repeat that. Mingus Union High School is one of 23 in the nation chosen for this program and chosen to bring a teacher to your school to teach Chinese.
That's correct. And there are opportunities for renewability. So while Ms. Ni is only here for a year, we're very hopeful that we'll continue the program, because we actually did try to look around to find a Chinese teacher, and there aren't that many in Cottonwood or in this area. So that was a challenge for us, and so we're hopeful that through this program we can continue to sustain it. That's our plan anyway. So next year we would have Chinese 1 and Chinese 2 offered to students.
Okay, wonderful. So now, Ms. Ni, let's let the television viewers learn a little bit about you. And you came over from China.
Yes.
And you'll be here for how long?
For almost a year.
Okay.
For the school year.
Right, and you left your family at home to come and learn, have this experience, this exchange experience, which is probably a little bit difficult. I'm sure you miss them a great deal.
Yes, I mean, leaving your family behind for a whole year is kind of a lot.
Exactly.
But I should grasp the chance. I think this place offers me a unique opportunity to see what America is really like, to experience the American culture, to see how nice American people are. and to see the West. And
just such a fantastic experience. So it's kind of like serving your country. I mean, if, like, I think of people in the military that leave their families for a year or two, and it's probably something like that. You're kind of dedicating yourself to the betterment of the globe, really, the world, I think.
Yeah. Yes. And here I teach Chinese here. It's a brand new experience for me, but I love it. Here the students are very nice, and the teachers help me a lot. The school offers me some conveniences, and so it's all going smoothly, and I get to see what America is really look like.
Right, rather than what you hear or what is said, and you really know now what.
Yes.
And you're in a rural area. Are you from a rural area in China,
No.
or more of an urban large city?
It's kind of like Phoenix, and we have like 7 million people in my city.
Okay.
That's
and
only
which city is that?
Fuzhou.
Okay.
Fuzhou, the
Fuzhou?
southeast.
Okay.
The southeast.
Southeast China.
Yeah, it's just across from Taiwan.
Okay.
And we have like 7 million people, and it's kind of crowded. And here you see the land spread out.
The open spaces.
Yes, and the houses dotted among the mountains, and that's nice.
Yeah, I bet it's a beautiful view here in the Verde Valley.
Yeah, and you get to enjoy the view. You know what it's like to live in the rural area, to appreciate the stars and the eclipse out there.
Oh, did you see the eclipse?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, it was impressive.
And in China, in your town, your city, you probably wouldn't have been able to see that.
No, we are like 14 or 15 hours later than China.
Okay.
So in China, it's daytime. They didn't get
so
a
they
chance.
didn't get a chance to see it.
Yeah.
But even if it had been there, can you see an eclipse with all of the city lights? Generally, you can.
Yes.
You can still see that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you have students, and in China, you were teaching English. Is that correct?
Yes.
So now you've had to switch to English speakers, and now you're teaching Chinese. So how is that? Is that different? How is that different?
Well, now in class I have to switch to guess which language I should use.
Okay.
And I'm supposed to speak Chinese more in class as much as possible.
Right.
Because you want the students to be immersed in the language so that they can learn faster.
Exactly.
And also, the teaching part is I have to switch my role and to be prepared, because it's a totally new experience for me, and I have to show the students the beauty of our language and what kind of culture that we have that's different from America, what way of thinking that we have.
So you're teaching them the culture, you're teaching them more than just the language.
Yes.
Because to learn a language, you really have to know a culture. I mean, it's...
Yes. You need to learn the culture, you need to be enchanted by that culture, and then you can go further. Oh, it's not just language, right?
Right. So you were saying that you have 43 students, and really that's a pretty good class, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's actually three. There's three sections.
Three
so
sections.
she has three relatively small classes, which is nice.
Which is good, because if you had that many at once, I bet it would be hard to teach that many and answer the questions that each individual student needs. So do you think that they're enjoying it, or do you think they think this is hard?
Well, I think the students are enjoying it. Meanwhile, they realize it's kind of hard, but I try to slow down a little bit and to let them to keep up. And so that every student, I think they are doing fine, and they are enjoying it. They finally realize that there is a language that involves a lot of Chinese character writing, and that can be called calligraphy.
Calligraphy, right. So they can learn an art while they're learning the language. So let's take a short break, and when we get back, we'll talk about the differences and how many letters there are in the two languages. So we will be right back in just a moment.
Orkin has pest control down to a science.
When your business chooses Orkin's Precision Protection Program, you get a tailored pest control program for your specific industry and environment.
Your business can benefit from over a century of experience, training, and scientific knowledge that define the Orkin man.
Maximum protection, minimum exposure, backed by one of the industry's most comprehensive guarantees.
Choose your locally owned and operated Northern Arizona Orkin and get more than an exterminator. Get an expert.
Millions of people are affected by disaster in America. And we're right there, providing food. With more than 200 food banks, reaching communities all across America. Donate now for immediate relief and long-term recovery. Every dollar helps provide food for disaster victims. Help now at feedingamerica.org.
Welcome back to Inside Cottonwood. I'm Mayor Diane Joens, your host, with Dr. Tighe and Ms. Ni, and we're talking today about the Chinese language and how Mingus Union High School has embarked on this new program of a second language for students. So we were talking before we started today about the difficulty of, I asked you, is learning the Chinese language and writing it more difficult for you and then students also? And you thought that English was easier than Chinese.
And you cannot say that because, I mean, in every language there's a lot to learn. There's never an end, right? But comparatively speaking, perhaps for the writing part, we need to put in more efforts in the earlier age. So we have like 26 letters in our alphabet, and you were saying that there are maybe there's 3,000 Chinese characters that's most commonly used, and it seems like altogether there are like 90,000 or something. Wow! And even experts cannot make it. So we can just stick to the 3,000, and that needs effort. But here, for the students, I think for beginners, the requirement is like they can recognize the characters, it's fine, and they can learn to start writing some easier ones, and until one day they can learn more difficult ones.
So you start with basic words like chair or apple or... Yeah, it's basic, but I would like to relate to real life, and I would like to relate to culture. For example, I've told the students numbers, colors, but they reflect culture. In Chinese culture, what numbers are people's favorite? Just like number 13 is not a number that Americans like, right? And for color, what kind of color we should wear for wedding, or for different occasions. Maybe a funeral or a wedding or a school graduation. Yes, and also we are learning about food and about festivals. And so last week it was China's Moon Festival, and so I get to show the students what we do for the Moon Festival and what does the moon represent. What does the moon mean to Chinese? But to Chinese, it's not just the moon. And I asked the students the funny question about when you see the moon, what will come to your mind first? And they will come up usually with ties or beauty or something like that. But to Chinese, it's more. The moon represents the ups and downs in life because every month sometimes it's full, sometimes it's not, and it also represents you. It also reminds you of your hometown, your family, your friends. And so there's a lot more meanings. There's a lot of significance to the moon that our culture doesn't place. I mean, it's like, oh, it's up there in the sky, unless you're a scientist or work for NASA or something. And then it seems that the students, when they see the moon, what comes to their mind, it's more about astronomy. It's more about the solar system, something like that. But for us, it's sometimes connected to your emotional needs, and so that's
that's pretty funny.
Yes.
And also, I taught the students about animals. So I asked them, when you see the pig, what will come to your mind first? When you see the ox, what will come to your mind? And they say, bacon, beef, or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Something to eat.
Cute. And, because they can raise it as pet.
Right, pets, or maybe safari animals in Africa. They might think about that.
Yeah.
So yes, there's quite a difference then in cultures, just with those significant meanings for
symbols,
some symbolism and that sort of thing, which you learn as children.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's just part of you.
Yeah.
And part of the way you think and just with you. I mean,
yeah, you have the connection.
Yes, right. Well, that's very interesting. So, we were talking about education before, and Dr. Tighe was, when he came back from China, he was sharing with a group of folks that he was talking to about his experience and the differences in education in America, the United States of America, and China. And so do you want to share a little bit about how you see our students and compared to how it was for you as a student?
Okay, so I think students are all lovely. They are all eager to learn something. They are all eager to explore the world, to know what's out there. But indeed, we have some differences in the educational system. In China, the students perhaps need to put in longer hours to study because they are required to have tests so that they can get to better high schools and then better universities. So it's kind of tough for them. They have to compete with others.
It's very competitive.
Yeah, competitive.
Where here you just go through the grades and hopefully go to college, but maybe go to trade school and there it's stressful, right?
Yeah, it's kind of stressful.
Yeah.
And it also depends on which area you come from, China. In my province, I think it's kind of easier for the students because we have the students needn't have that much competition because we have less population. But in northern area, like Henan province, Hebei province, they have more students and the competition is tougher for them.
So the students that live in the country that have a farming or are tied to the earth some way, producing food or products for clothing or whatever, do they have the same opportunities in China as the students who live in the urban areas?
And so the government, I think the Chinese government is doing its best to make sure that every student has the equal opportunity.
Okay.
And we think that the education system, the exams, right? The students offers them a very equal opportunity because that if you can do better, and then you can get to better universities. I think that's an equal chance for everyone, as long as you put in your efforts.
So students study. I mean, that's what they do their whole lives until they get, I suppose, to a job, and maybe they still do it, but they spend many hours a day studying. And that's just accepted. I mean, that's what you do.
Yes, and they think that you work hard and then you will later deserve more. It's that you put in how much and then you get how much.
And so you're seeking by children and youth having the desire to study and spend all that time studying, although everybody does it, so maybe they don't know that there's a different lifestyle other than studying. But it's like, do they have any fun? Do you have any fun when you're, or is it just studying
No,
mainly?
it's not just that. I mean, also in China we have different kinds of activities. And for just each day we have something like eye exercises. And we have all the students on the playground doing exercise together, and that's funny.
So you get outside and you move. It isn't just sitting behind a desk studying all the time.
We have art lessons, PE lessons, and also after school the students can also take part in different kinds of activities. We have clubs and we also have plays.
Pretty much the same as our schools,
Yeah,
really. Then
yes.
is
And,
a lot of activities and theater. So have you touched base with Mingus's theater department?
It was awesome.
They have a magnificent theater department.
And I really felt grateful that the school allows me to or send me to go to the Shakespeare Festival in Utah.
Okay.
And I got to see that.
Wonderful.
Wow, it was impressive.
Right.
And also last night I went with the school theater teacher and our students to Phoenix to see The Wicked.
Well, great.
Yeah.
That's so you're really getting out there and absorbing the culture by having these opportunities.
Yeah, and also there are different kinds of field trips in school, and I think in China we didn't have that much.
Right,
that
you
many
didn't do field trips.
We have field trips, but not that many, I think.
Yeah.
And but overall, Chinese students, they need to work harder and they need to put in more hours, but they still have the fun there.
The social life also.
Yes.
Right, that's great. So we need to take our last break, and we will be right back.
If you store your guns properly,
I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside.
Safer when walking home.
I won't have to tell so many family members. I'm sorry.
I won't hear as many scary stories.
And I won't have to tell my kids, this isn't a drill.
Please.
please.
Do it for us.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Remember, always, lock it up. Visit ncpc.org.
Orkin has pest control down to a science.
When your business chooses Orkin's Precision Protection Program, you get a tailored pest control program for your specific industry and environment.
Your business can benefit from over a century of experience, training, and scientific knowledge that define the Orkin man.
Maximum protection, minimum exposure, backed by one of the industry's most comprehensive guarantees.
Choose your locally owned and operated Northern Arizona Orkin and get more than an exterminator. Get an expert.
Welcome back to Inside Cottonwood. Mayor Diane Joens, your host, and we're speaking with Dr. Paul Tighe from Mingus Union High School and our new Chinese teacher, Ms. Ni. And we were just kind of talking about the differences in maybe the studying and the amount of hours that Chinese students study, but we were talking about you have a lot of activities and social things for your students.
Yes.
So what else did you do? I mean, I know that you focused on the English language and you teach English to Chinese students, but what are your other interests?
Well, my other interests involve shopping, hiking,
hiking,
and movies.
Okay.
I love a lot of American movies. Yeah, I've seen a lot of them, and to see part of American culture in a movie.
That's fantastic.
But may not be really true.
Right.
You need to come here to see what's the difference.
Right. Yes, because the movies you might see in China wouldn't necessarily reflect the true America. And everyday life. I mean, so hiking, I mean, this must be like heaven to you because there's so many opportunities to hike in the Verde Valley and there's so much beauty, and I think that's why a lot of people like to live here is because of the opportunities to get out and enjoy the outdoors. And it will be cooling down pretty soon. And all through the winter, it's just gorgeous hiking weather. So you have lots of opportunities to do it when it's not hot.
And also I plan to travel throughout America. I'm thinking about going to different places.
Right.
To see the landscape.
Absolutely. Because I suppose China is the same way. I mean, you just have so many opportunities to see beauty, the Earth's beauty, you know, and there's so much difference in areas of probably China and the United States.
Yeah, we can make comparison.
Right, absolutely. So we were talking a little bit about the culture, and you were saying that in your culture, at least in your part of China, that when you get married, that you are still very close to your family.
Yeah.
And families help with the children, as they often do here in the United States also. But I think it sounds like your families are really, really close.
Yeah, we may choose to live with our father-in-law or mother-in-law, and then after they retire, they can help to take care of the kids, and then young people can go out to work. And one day, if the mother-in-law and father-in-law get older, it's our turn to take care of them. And so we live usually closer, and we may like to choose one city to stay there for a longer time, and instead of moving from one city to another.
So you're not as transitory as we are. We kind of move around in the United States, and even our elders, you know, our 80-year-olds sometimes will take off and move across the country by themselves, and they don't maybe have a lot of family, and you know, sometimes that becomes an issue. I mean, even here, I would just, you know, in the past couple years was helping a very elderly friend in her 80s who had no family, and it just, you know, there are a lot of people here that aren't connected to their families.
Well, even a lot of people here are from other parts of the country, so they move here to retire. They might even move away from family to be in this area.
To enjoy the hiking and
climate.
And the climate.
Mild
I mean,
winters.
they get tired of snow, so they come out here. So, you know, we do have sometimes that disconnect, which is why I think programs for intergenerational programs are really important for us. And you know, there are people that support that the children from school go to a nursing home to visit the elderly and adopt them as a grandparent, and so we have to kind of make those accommodations for family a little bit differently sometimes, because people do move away from each other. Families do move away. A job takes them somewhere, or you know, so we don't always have those connections, which are so important, really.
So for
as
us,
you age, you know, and or like you said, when you're working and you need a babysitter, there's nothing greater than a grandmother.
I mean, it's at least someone who knows the family, who is the family. Instead of a stranger, we will prefer that it's the family members take care of the younger kids.
Well, that sounds like a good system. So what are some things that you might want to talk about? We want to talk about community outreach before we close, but until we do that, let's go ahead. We've just got about 3 minutes, but is there anything that I missed that you would like to share about your experience or your home? Or
Okay, well, so I have been here for like 2 months, and I enjoy it here. And I think people here are very nice. They can strike up a conversation with you anywhere, and on the road the people are nice. They will say hi to you. That's something I appreciate a lot.
Absolutely.
As a stranger here. And also, even in this place, I can see a lot. I can go to different kinds of restaurants, and you have Mexican restaurant, you have Italian or French or something.
And we have Chinese.
We have the Chinese.
I bet they're very different from what you're used to, probably.
Oh, the Chinese food here is nice, and but still, there's some kind of difference between real Chinese food because it's kind of Americanized. And I hope that more Americans can go to China and to see
the true cuisine and which varies from different parts of the country in China.
I mean,
as it does in the United States,
There are a lot of Chinese food that I haven't tasted yet. It's a lot. I mean, the variety of food there and the vast land there, and it's you need to, if you go to China, you need to prepare a longer time instead of like 10 days.
Stay longer.
Yeah, stay longer and to see what it's like.
Right.
And to see how nice Chinese people are as Americans. And Chinese people like to make friends. And we are very hospitable. And we like to invite people to dinner, something like that.
Right, right. That sounds good.
Yeah.
So what about this outreach, community outreach? That's a part of the plan of your being here, is that you're going to do some community outreach. So if someone like a Rotary Club or Kiwanis or another school class wanted to hear you speak, how would they do that?
Okay, they can reach out to Mingus Union High School, and I'm there. And besides my teaching time, I'm usually available at night and on the weekends. And so if they're interested, they can invite me there, and I can share with them my Chinese culture.
Okay.
And perhaps sometimes Chinese food.
Right. All kinds of things.
Yeah.
So we're out of time, but I would just like to thank both of you for being here today. And I found this so interesting. Thank you for coming and sharing information with our viewers. And hopefully lots of folks will get to watch this and understand a little bit more about Chinese culture. And so welcome to Cottonwood in the Verde Valley. We're very glad you're here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And that's the way it is in Cottonwood.